Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about today, including some botting situations going on inside a season of Discovery, world events created by content creators with the Blood God Loa, class changes in the new XP buff coming Tuesday, and some very easy gold-making tips to make a ton of gold right now this phase, as well as some more community comments from you all. My name is Sky. For the comeback is, this is your season of Discovery news. Grab a cup of coffee, sit down. We got a lot to discuss today. Okay, now it's no secret at times the botting situation in World of Warcraft can easily get out of control. We saw last phase, bots were literally fly hacking inside of the world to get into Shadowfang Keep, tons of bots farming along paths, stealing nodes from other players in the open world, and other crazy practices that aren't very normal. Now, Blizzard did recently release some information on a new ban wave that went out eliminating a ton of accounts that were doing mischievous activities and performing against terms of service, and generally I would say the botting situation has definitely gone down. Well, I am on the Horde though, so maybe I'm just not seeing it so clearly. We got a post directed toward Agrind over on Twitter stating there are hundreds of stockade bots with bot names going in and out of the instance, and I've never seen it this bad before. As you can see from the footage on screen, there are clearly just endless amount of bots running inside of the instance, either pickpocketing all the mobs or mages AoE farming that are clipped into the wall so they can't be targeted. Pretty much just one pulling the entire instance, which is absolute insanity. Agrind then responds to this by stating, I am loath to comment on this because I can never give a satisfying answer. The reason this is because we've been effective at squashing most other farms elsewhere for now. Stockades is there for sort of a constant fallback for these clowns, and the reality is when we squash a different farm, a lot of times they fall back to the next best thing, and in this case, it's currently Stockades. He also then states, we of course are watching Stockades and we'll ban this round, and then they'll be back tomorrow on thousands of new accounts. Trust me, it's discouraging for us too, but we just have to keep plugging. The reality is the more effective we are, the more visible these things become. We fix an exploit in an area or dungeon, it funnels farmers into a single or a few other dungeons. I'm genuinely proud of what our game security operations and server teams have accomplished this patch. Our security folks work tirelessly for this in the very literally most thankless job in games, but they make a huge impact. I just want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, you got to think of the botting situation almost like a water flooding into your boat. Just when you plug up one hole, you have an entirely different one being opened up, and it gets a lot worse than before. Not only that, the team that they have working on Season of Discovery right now is doing a phenomenal job, but there are very few of them. And by the way, that's kind of the reason Season of Discovery is being ran so well, is because there's a very small team to go through when you're trying to make changes and go through so many processes. Like, the totem pole isn't that large, so it doesn't take that much time. I mean, you got to look at Retail World of Warcraft as a perfect example. That team is so much larger, and things take so much longer to fix or accomplish. There's just so many people in the chain that these issues that they need to go through and be addressed, it just takes so long. I know the botting situation sucks at times, and I know for a fact it could seem like an impossible problem to fix, but that's just it. It really is impossible to completely wipe out all the bots. The only thing you could possibly do is contain them and hinder them to give the players the best experience possible, because this is something that is completely out of their control. One thing I will not let them get away with, though, is the stability inside of Stranglethorn PvP. That thing is absolute trash. That's something they're on the hook for, because I'm hoping it gets addressed very soon. I swear to God, every time I get in that event, there's always one giant problem, whether it be I can't get layered with my group, or simply it's just so laggy, it physically hurts my head to even try to play it. So that's one thing they gotta get fixed. That's something that's in their control. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this Tuesday, we have an absolutely massive patch day coming for Season of Discovery that's really gonna change the way the game is forever. Being the experience gain from level 1 through 39 being increased by 100%, allowing us the opportunity to level up alternate characters faster so we can experience, you know, all the amazing features Season of Discovery has to offer on a wide variety of classes. I know there are some players out there who think this is a bad change, but try to remember that this version of WoW isn't something that is a staple and set in stone like Classic or some of the other expansions that have been previously released. This is a seasonal version of the game that's purpose is to simply bring us a wide variety of new features in Classic World of Warcraft and add upon it. Season of Discovery is not Classic, and Season of Discovery is not Retail. It's something that is brand new and never before seen. So honestly, I love that they're taking chances and trying to mix it up and do something different. The entire concept and idea of what Season of Discovery is all about taking chances and doing something different. I mean, we have mages healing, warlocks tanking, Black Fathom Deeps, and Nomergan as raids, which sounds crazy if you say it out loud. I mean, what's next? We're gonna get brand new races coming soon? I mean, who knows? I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but the point of what I'm trying to say is that I think we just need to go with the flow with what the developers are doing, because every single thing they've done and added for the game has been a home run hit, and I'm really excited to see where the future holds. Now, I'm not gonna lie though, a lot of players are having some of the concerns that I have when it comes to being pretty much forced to wait until March 5th to continue leveling up those alts, because it's so efficient once the XP boost launches on Tuesday. So personally, I am waiting, which sucks. I wish it could have been just embedded immediately, but having multiple big patches on launch days within a week can definitely cause some server issues. So I'm all for just waiting for Tuesday, which is my birthday, by the way, so happy birthday to me. By the way, if you guys want to see an in-depth video breaking down the Season of Discovery XP increase, as well as what I think Season of Discovery should add to make the game significantly better, please check out the video on screen now that we posted the other day. That we had some really hot topics in that video, and I'm really, really curious to see all your comments on it. I'm sure you've all heard, by the way, about the class changes coming Tuesday. I just want to quickly address them once again and briefly explain my thoughts about them. Also, very good news is that we are seeing some buffs to the second worst DPS spec in the game, being Marksmanship Hunter. These buffs include Chimera Shot's damage being increased to 120% of the weapon damage, which was previously 100%, and Chimera Shot's Serpent Sting damage is increased to 48%, which was previously 40%. Additionally, Explosive Shot's getting buffed, with his base damage done before attack power is increased by 15% as well. I personally don't think this is everything that's going to be needed to make marksmanship really viable again, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, even the Hunter Discord is going crazy right now with players posting like DPS simulations that Spell Power Hunter is actually performing the best on the Sims right now for marksmanship, because all their spells are being buffed by spell power. So it's really, really interesting. I guess all the loot out there being Hunter loot might actually be serious come Tuesday, which is really, really funny. Lastly, for Hunter's carve damage, it has been increased to 65%, which was previously 50%, which is a nice buff to their area of effect damage for melee Hunter as well. Next up, we have some major buffs to Mage, with Frostfire Bolt's base damage increased by 50%, and its increased damage from bonus spell power increased by 16% as well. Additionally, Spell Frost Bolt got identical changes, which might actually make Frost Mage a bit more viable in terms of leveling PvP and maybe even inside of a raid environment. I don't know, I'm gonna have to test it out. So that's something that we would definitely have to be looking out for as well. Additionally, when it comes to Mage healing, all of their healing spells got their spell power coefficients increased by a whopping 88%, which is absolutely massive buffs for the class spec overall. They say that this has to compensate for mage healers, primarily having items that grant them damage and healing instead of just raw healing. So if a mage ends up wearing just healing gear, they could probably get a really crazy amount of healing gear out there as of right now, especially in this phase. Mages are performing really, really well. And finally, their Chronostatic Preservation mana cost has been decreased by a whopping 44%. If you didn't know, this was their best healing spell out there this phase, so with the mana cost being reduced, all these other buffs, it's going to be quite interesting to see where Mage lies on the logs come Tuesday, which we will be talking about later this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday. Next up, for my Paladin players out there, your time has officially arrived, man. Seal of the Martyr's damage is increased to 50% of weapon damage, which was previously 40%, and the Judgment damage is increased to 85% as well, which was previously 70%. Lastly, Seal of the Martyr now benefits from talents that affect Seal of the Righteousness also. I know a good buddy of mine, Hello J Tello, has been freaking out about this stuff. If you guys haven't, please go check out his channel, man. He's one of the most honest, real, and entertaining content creators I have ever seen on the platform in my time of doing this. I promise you, this guy is going to make it big one day. If you're a Paladin or even World of Warcraft fan, he's got to be your go-to creator. So please do yourself a favor, pull up one of his videos and just enjoy the show, man. I promise you won't be disappointed. Additionally, back to the class changes, we have changes to the Warlock, buffing their Grimoire of Synergy, which now increases damage done by the Warlock and their pet by 25% when it is active, which was previously 5%, which could potentially make this rune actually playable and viable now. Lastly, it looks like we are seeing buffs to Protection Warrior, with their Devastate damage being increased to 150% of weapons DPS, which was previously 100% as well. Now, all these class changes are surely going to change up the meta, and we are going to be going over the logs once again sometime later this week. But as of right now, it looks like the new Shaman changes have shot them up to pretty much the top in terms of DPS between Elemental and Enhancement, which I'm sure is going to lead to the class being nerfed a bit, to be honest, considering how much utility they bring for a raid environment. Additionally, we have Warriors shooting up to near the top now, even getting past Shadow Priest. And then you have Fire Mage pulling away from everybody else, making it almost not even close in terms of a competition, which is really, really interesting to see. But when it's an RNG class, it's really hard to judge it and nerf it based off that. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, it seems a lot of people out there are just struggling to make a lot of gold in Season of Discovery, especially since all the gold dumps are really, really taxing every week, and things can get quite expensive between, you know, raiding, buying your, you know, consumables, all your mounts, buying crafting materials and recipes, and all the other stuff out there that you need to buy. Now, with the brand new waylaid supplies changes over the last week or so being implemented, I've actually found it quite easy to make gold better than ever. And not only that, it's really, really simple. So pay attention. I promise we'll get you some gold right now. As you can see on the screen, I'm looting all of my auctions from the previous night and profiting about 45 gold the second I log into my character. And I'm going to show you exactly how you could do this too. Now, with the waylaid supplies bringing you a much larger increase to gold reward once you complete them and turn them in, this not only brings profit to the player turning in the supplies, it brings profit to the crafter who sells these said supplies on the auction house. And that's exactly what I've been targeting. All you have to do is go to the link in the description, go to this website showing all the waylaid supplies that are available in Phase 2, and craft those said materials and place them directly on the auction house to make a really nice profit. Now, personally, I only craft the materials for the waylaid supply turn-ins that give you 12G in return. So my favorite ones to craft are the mithril blunderbusses for engineering, the massive iron axes for blacksmithing, and the turtle scale bracers for leatherworking as well. All three of these recipes have a really, really massive like return on investment for buying just a few materials needed and then simply farming out the rest yourself. I've made about 150 gold in just a few days of farming, about an hour a night. So please do yourself a favor, man. Follow the waylaid supply crafting recipes because this is definitely where the gold is at inside of Phase 2. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, it seems we're at a community section part of the video where we take your opinions and comments from below in our comment section, shout them out, discuss them, man. So if you have something to comment about Season Discovery so far in Phase 2 or potentially for the future, let us know about it in the comment section below. We had a ton of hot takes instead of our previous video titled Season of Discovery is changing drastically, and we're going to be talking about that. Some of the topics in the video include more endgame content being implemented and like the whole heroic dungeon thing, and how I think the XP increase from 1 to 39 is nothing but a good thing. So let's jump right into it. Starting off with our first comment from Zane Bertoli stating, I feel like the badge system in dungeons would be amazing. Give us a reason to go back and play. I was absolutely loving Fire Mage in dungeons, and the second I hit 40, I was sad because besides the raid and farming gold, there's just no reason to play my main anymore. Now listen, of course there are other things you can do out there like PvP, you know, battlegrounds, getting your crafting up, maybe even roleplay if you're into that sort of thing. But a major topic of the video was just simply discussing more content that could be added and giving some ideas to the developers maybe to give us some more variety at which we get loot between raid days. Because I don't know about you guys, the second me and my guild complete Gnomergan, everyone just immediately logs off and I don't hear from them again for 3 days until it's time to raid again. I feel like having heroic dungeons or some more content to complete with my guild would be a great way for me to play with friends or even you to play with friends or have some things to do with your community. I would love to do heroic dungeons even with my viewers or even teach players that are new to WoW how to play properly in a difficult raiding environment, almost like prepping them for the raid that's coming up maybe, potentially even test out new builds inside of the heroic dungeon. I just feel like all those dungeons have such great content inside of them, and it's kind of a waste to not capitalize on it. Then on the other side of the spectrum, we have Test the West stating, honestly, I like the limit on endgame content. It allows for a phase of relaxation after the new phase rush. People should not always have to log in every day just to have the best loot. I get what you mean, because if you add content in World of Warcraft that's required to get the best loot in the game, then you just end up in a situation where it's like Shadowlands, where if you don't run your Torghast dungeon every week, you don't get enough ashes and you won't get your legendary piece of gear, and you will be significantly behind other players who do so. And then after that, it just becomes a chore that you're forced to do, and if you don't, you will 100% be behind. That is not what I'm advocating for. The thing is I'm not pushing for that at all. I'm not asking for these heroic dungeons to give you the best gear possible. Just maybe fill them with crafting recipes, maybe tabards, mounts, maybe some cool weapons and armor variety that can help you out inside of raids or potentially even PvP. They don't need to be the best in the game, but maybe slightly worse than the best in slot. I feel like that'd be an awesome way for you to get your guild, get your friends, get in a community, and just go farm some dungeons with some friends in an RPG, man. I don't know. I feel like we're all overthinking this thing and thinking it's going to turn into retail, but the only thing I'm really asking for is maybe some more content in between raid days to do with friends. That's really it. You all definitely have to know what you think about it in the comment section below, because I'm really, really curious. Next up, we have 99 Ownage stating, being someone who has an 8 to 5 job, an hour-long drive to work and back, and is really casual and doesn't have much time outside of WoW for other games, it took me roughly 2 weeks or more to hit level 40. And this is his comment based off, I guess, the experience points being increased from 1 to 39. And then someone else even stated under his comment with, at a certain point though, maybe World of Warcraft isn't the game for you. They shouldn't cater to the top 1%, as well as they shouldn't cater to the bottom 1% either. And of course, I don't think the developers should ever cater to the best in the world, or simply the players that don't have much time, or the players that aren't that good, sadly, because then you would just have an absolute disaster of game design and no one would be happy. However, I don't think it's the 1%, the fact that players have a 9 to 5 job and they can only play 1 or 2 hours a day. I feel like that's a big majority of people, actually. I mean, if you don't have a 9 to 5 job, what the hell are you doing every day? I mean, even teenagers go to school from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., so I'm not really sure what to say about something like that. Overall, I think when we're talking about a seasonal version of World of Warcraft, where the phases last roughly 2.5 months, I do not see it being a problem that the leveling experience is increased so you can participate in all the content available inside the phase. For example, I could speak for myself when I say that I'm dying to play other classes inside of this phase and run Nomergan and do the STV event, but I simply just don't have the time between work, making content, streaming, handling my own family life, being in between a moving situation right now to be able to level up 4 or 5 classes that I'm really, really interested in playing. At this point, I have complete faith in developers right now, because every move they've made so far is nothing but for the majority populace, which is, by the way, the casual player that has a 9 to 5 job that can only play 1 to 2 hours a day. And for our last comment, we have Crispy stating, every dungeon from here on out should be 10 man, and the raid should be 20 man. And honestly, that would be a crazy idea. Almost like every dungeon from level 40 onward being as difficult as like UBRS, like Upper Blackrock Spire. I don't know if you guys remember how difficult that dungeon was to run it as a fresh level 60 in vanilla to get your prebis, but it was pretty damn hard. And I thought it was really entertaining doing all those boss fights where at any moment, it could feel like your tank could just get absolutely one-shotted because of how difficult the encounters were. I don't know. I think it'd make for like a really, really great time for grinding your pre-raid best in slot rather than just plowing through dungeons really, really easily. You know, you can go in there, get your guildies, get some loot, run some challenging content. I feel like it'd be fun. Don't forget, we are streaming now live on YouTube and Twitch, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to come on down, hang out, and just enjoy each other's company, man, talk World of Warcraft, we would absolutely love to have you there. We're trying to get affiliate over there on Twitch right now, so if you want, go check it out. Link in the description below. Give us a follow. It would really, really be much appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe to get absolutely flooded with Season of Discovery content. I really want to thank you all so much for watching this video. It really is, man, an absolute pleasure to make content for you all. Until the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.